Everybody, welcome to Stack Your Points. Thanks for watching and listening. And this is the Friday Q&A segment. So your questions, we answer them, sometimes up to an hour, sometimes it creates its own episode in and of itself. So if you have questions, always feel free to drop them on the YouTube channel or email us at stackyourpoints@gmail.com. But we hope you enjoy this week's Q&A session. Thanks for watching and listening. Welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt Clausen from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined by Call Me Lani from the Call Me Lani YouTube channel. Lani, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. This is funny because I wasn't actually supposed to be here today because I'm traveling. I'm actually in New York. But I got a couple of minutes before I need to pop out. So I'm going to come in, say hi, answer a couple of questions with you guys, and then I'll slowly make my leave.
Welcome to our time zone. Experience our pain. Just kidding. Thank you so much, Lani. Also joined, as always, by RJ from Do You Take Cards. RJ, how are you today?
I am dealing with the reality of which we all currently live in the best way I can.
Again, I am a believer in multiverse theory, and our multiverse sucks. I want a new one. Just gonna put that out there.
Yeah, we are on the sucky timeline at the moment.
Darkest possible timeline. Just the worst. Anyway, and last but not least, Tariq from Reek's Rewards. Tariq, how are you today?
I am a whole lot better than I was last week, since I was too sick to even record or even get out of bed. So this Monday was a lot better than last Monday, sans other things that happened last week.
Everything in between just doesn't count. Yeah, so we're gonna continue on. We've got time for a question with Lani. We're gonna switch things up a little bit because we have Lani and his availability. So we're gonna start with this question from Spaethco. And Spaethco's question is, what card do you have that you continue to hold and use because it provides incremental value, but you never sign up for again as a new card? So Lani, is there a card that gives you great value? And we know that value is the thing that will drive you to getting a card, but you would never sign up for this card again?
That is a really fun question. And so right now I'm going through my digital wallet because I don't have my actual wallet with me. And I actually have a couple of different answers. I'm going to take business cards out of it. I don't think those are fair. So I'm going to lean on personal. I think one of them would easily be my Freedom Unlimited, only because it was great as a one-off sign-up bonus that I got. So I got the 1.5 offer on everything offer when I signed up for it. But without an offer like that, or even the double offer, which I didn't get, but the double points everything offer for your first 12 months, I don't really use the card. I even have another favorite catch-all card now. So if I were to ever get rid of this, and there's no point because it's $0 annual fee, just let it sit there until Chase kills it. That would probably be one. But I would actually, RJ, don't be mad. Don't be mad. It'll probably be my Amex Platinum card. Sign-up bonus is great, especially when you get a good one. The value is great if you use the card. But I was here in New York. Actually, Joe Barretto of Credit Card Connection came down to visit. So we went out and had dinner. We actually were talking about this specific question. And if I were to get rid of my Platinum card, could I receive some of the benefits that I get from it from other cards? Even if I were to product change, get a different card, anything like that. But if I got rid of my $6.95, could I fill that value up across one or multiple cards? And the short answer is yes. The first thing to think of is United Travel Bank. I mean, not even the travel bank, but the airline credit that I personally could use towards United Travel Bank, because everyone knows I love to fly United. That's $200. So the remaining $495 is still cheaper for me to just do whatever I want with United at $200 than to pay the full $695. There's the Fine Hotels and Resorts. that is actually something that I really like the card for, especially I mentioned this in previous episodes, so where they give the discounts like 30% off if you use MR points, 40% off if you use MR points. But now there's the Chase, the Edit. Are they the exact same hotels? No, but are the perks the same? $100 experience credit, breakfast for two every day. So in essence, the value is still there, even though I might not get the exact same hotel group. So I could do without it. At the same time, that's now almost the thing I use it for the most. Uber credit, Uber or / Uber Eats credit. I mean, I'm going there anyway. So yeah, you might save me $15, $20 in December. I could live without that. So if anything, I would say the platinum card. And sorry, RJ, I got to do it. It's not really earning me that many points. So almost any other card will earn almost any other points. A debit card. It's a Ooh, did I go that far? I'm sorry.
No, but if you
I'm gonna
use
pull
it
it back. I'm gonna pull it
So
back. One
the
line.
problem is that you're in United, so you're using your United card for United flights. If you weren't in United or didn't have a United card and could get the 5x MR points on the Platinum, that would make more sense. So for you, I completely understand why you don't book flights on the Platinum. For me, I book flights with my Platinum because it's my highest flight card in terms of MR points for flights. So again, as we talk about with credit cards all the time, it depends on what your situation is.
It does. And I'm not trying to rat on RJ and her favorite card brand over here. But to answer the question honestly, if I canceled a card and didn't want to go with that same card again, I think the Platinum would be the one in my wallet that would best fit in Spaethco's answer.
That makes complete sense. RJ, any quick rebuttal there, or what is your card that provides incremental value, but you never sign up for again as a new card?
So the only thing I will say about the Platinum is I think the Platinum is one of those cards that it either is for you or it is not for you. And there is no middle ground. And it's okay if it's not for you. I don't think the card is for probably 80% of the people who have it. But if it's for you, it can work out very well. That's the only thing I'm going to say. I don't defend the Platinum nearly as much as I think people think I defend the Platinum, but for the bit, I will defend the Platinum a little bit there. So for me, it's sort of going to be the exact opposite of Lani's answer, is sort of at least. I wish I hadn't gotten into Chase, so I'm going to say the Freedom and the CSP, because at the time, the reason I got into Chase was because of Marriott. But I very quickly decided that Marriott wasn't going to be my primary hotel. Well, with Marriott not being my primary hotel, I don't really have a great place to put those points. I do still funnel them to Marriott when they have the kickers, so it's like the 50% bonus to transfer points. I'll transfer whatever I have saved up. But as soon as I kind of can get out of Chase, I'm going to, because they just don't have the partners of which I need, which are Hilton and Delta primarily. So, and Choice. So for me, it's just not the ecosystem that earns me the points that I want. Like I could, ink train it, or I could do other things and get a bunch of Chase points. They just don't get me personally the value with where I stay, how I fly, all of that. So I don't actually think the Freedom is as bad as some of my co-hosts think the Freedom is, and I don't think the CSP is as bad as some of my co-hosts think the CSP is, but it's not the ecosystem for me. And I know that now. And that is a very important thing to learn in credit cards, is sometimes you think an ecosystem is going to work for you. It doesn't. So you move on.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Especially after the realization that Marriott was not going to be that second hotel. But you do have to kind of, when you pick your partners that you initially pick are not always going to be the partners that you'll have going forward. So it's a lesson learned over time. Tariq, is there any card that you've gotten that you'll hold on to it? It provides value. It's going to give you value, but you would never sign up for this card again.
So out of the cards that I have that gave me value. I didn't want to. I looked at my. I didn't want to do business for the same reasons that Lani said. I was looking at my strictly cashback cards and then my points earning cards. And obviously, my points earning cards, I get a lot of value from. I reapply for them all the time. So I was looking at my cashback cards and I was torn between a few, and I ended up going with the American Express Blue Cash Everyday card. And that one was a tough one for me because it has great multipliers. It's great for groceries, it's great for gas, and it's great for that online shopping category because not many cards, especially on the cashback side, earn for online shopping. I think of like that the Blue Cash Everyday is that fixed category, and then I think the Bank of America customized cash rewards card, you can make that like your rotating 3x category. And then on top of that, you get like the boatload of Amex offers and even a credit. Like I get, like it's for a $0 annual fee card, I get, $7 a month just for the Disney bundle credit. And it's the reason why I had the Disney bundle versus just paying for ESPN Plus outright because it's cheaper. But even with that being said, I don't know if I would just look at the card and apply for it outright, even with the Disney bundle credit, because that's really all I use the card for. And then maybe a few Amex offers after I sync them all through Max Rewards and kind of go through them and see which ones that I like. But even then, that kind of becomes a chore. So that, and on top of the only way to redeem the cash back is their reward dollars, which is a statement credit. At least Capital One and the Saver One, they'll mail you a check, which is archaic, but better than just playing the statement credit game. So because then it kind of I get why they do it. They're making you use the card more because even with you having a statement credit, you still gotta swipe the card to use the credit. So yeah, probably wouldn't be the card that I use for. It's a great cashback card. It was great when I was using it for cashback, but all in all, there's better earner cards that would have fit my use case.
Yeah, I think that card could be infinitely better if you could convert membership reward dollars to membership reward points. That would solve a lot of the what do I do with this?
That would break American Express because even if it, like, especially if it's like 1-to-1, it's a no annual fee gold card, which is
so make it 1-to-1
dangerous.
Right, but you can get I mean, the Blue Business Plus is still a business card, but it's 2x everything. So the Blue Cash Everyday is heavily capped at what you can do. I think it's 18,000 points that you could get if you maxed out those 3 categories. So,
Yeah.
and a little bit more on the preferred. So I don't think it would break as much as it could. But I also think that Amex has to be cooking something else up, but that's another topic for another day.
Indeed. We don't know what's in the mash right now, but apparently the mash is being put together and then stored in a barrel, hopefully. But please don't age it for 3 years. Fix this now. I'm not drinking whiskey. No. Anyway, my answer here, I too will avoid business cards, because if it was business cards, it would be the JetBlue business card, pretty obviously for me at the moment. But incremental value, I would never sign up for again. It was both of my Capital One cards. The Quicksilver card is a 1.5% earner. Yes, it's cashback. Yes, I can get a check, which again, as Tariq said, is archaic in 2024. I've gotten one check. I'll probably get another at some point. That card, in a world of the 2% cards that I have, absolutely worthless. The Capital One Saver card, I'm going to call it the Saver now. It's technically the Saver One, but name change and all of that. That card, the only use I'm using that card now for is grocery. Grocery is the only category that I don't have covered in Chase, in Wells Fargo, in the light touchings of American Express that I have, whether it's membership reward points because I only have the Blue Business Plus, or Hilton category, or Hilton, which I could just convert over to Hilton, to the Hilton card for my grocery spend. So it is a card that no longer offers good value to me. I could hold on to it because it's no annual fee, but would I sign up for the Capital One Saver again? No. Would I sign up for the Capital One Quicksilver again? No. So while they're no annual fee cards and I can let Capital One close them whenever Capital One should so choose, at the time I thought they fit. Capital One is not an issuer that really works for me. And I'm pretty sure with my velocity, even though my velocity is lower than some of my co-hosts, I'm not sure I could get into the Venture X right now. And if we can't get into the Venture X, what is the point of Capital One? Until they announce and release their new cards with their, 9 or 11 trademarks they have floating out there, until they figure that out, I have no reason to utilize Capital One other than some cash back for grocery. So for me, it would be the grocery. Yeah. And now that I have Hilton, and I'm going to talk about Hilton later, that card can step in for grocery points pretty effortlessly. Lani, I know we have you for a very limited amount of time tonight. Do you have time for a second question?
For you, Matt, and for our listeners and viewers, I have all the time we need for a second question.
Absolutely. So keeping that in mind, we are going to turn to our next question from AP. AP asks, Amex is so far ahead of Chase and Capital One at building and running lounges. What airports should Chase and Capital One be targeting to make a splash? And AP is very specifically aiming this question at me, the secondary at me. Please do not answer about Chase buying the club, even though that is the shortest possible answer. Lani, where would you like to see Chase or Capital One? You're not a Capital One guy, but where would you like to see Chase expand their lounge network?
Yeah, well, let me look at it from a business mindset and a consumer, the business perspective from a consumer standpoint. Let me answer it like that. So I will actually touch on some Capital One aspects. Now, for me, as everyone knows, I'm a United loyalist and I fly through most United hubs regularly throughout the US or Star Alliance terminals if flying internationally. The thing is that I hardly ever see a Capital One lounge. Like, I couldn't even tell you what airports they're in. Maybe IAD in DC. I don't even know if there's one in Reagan. The the triangle of airports in New York. So EWR, JFK, LaGuardia. JFK and LaGuardia get a lot of attention, but EWR does not. So I would actually say throw some over there. And at the same time, like I've already mentioned this before, that airlines need to take care of their own lounges. So United has United Club, Delta has their Sky Lounges, American has their Admirals. But even in major airports or even semi-major airports, I'm going to use Tariq. I've flown through DFW down there in Dallas, where each of those three have their own United Club. I mean, not United Club, but their own dedicated airline club. But in those specific areas, you don't actually see too much of the credit card lounges, like the Chase and the Capital One. And it makes it, you have to like feel loyalty to buy in, pay to play with these airlines to get into them, i.e., buy a ticket that gets you in for free or get a card that allows you to get in. There's no like middle ground. It's just one or other, ones and zeros. So I would actually say some of the more major international airports, like spread them out. First off, SFO, LAX, Houston. I think Houston actually has at least one or two. When I'm in Florida, MCO, Orlando, MIA, and Miami. Even though Miami does have an Amex lounge, but that's basically it. Everything else is pay to play when it comes to lounges down there. And they're super far spread out. I think they should hit those types of areas and airports. And it would actually would make it more enticing for people to get into lounges via the credit card game. Because you got to remember, our community, even though there's a lot of us, we all understand it. there's a larger community of people that have no idea that all this exists in the credit card space. Like we're a drop in the bucket of information compared to the people you walk next to at the airports. And if that was more readily visible, I think more people would be more inclined to understand and be educated on credit cards and how they can access these particular types of lounges. Because if I saw a Visa lounge and I'm like, hey, I got a Visa card, how come my Visa card doesn't work? The next thing you know, I'm going down the information rabbit hole on how come I can use it versus why do I have to pay $650 a year or whatever to get in a United Club for unlimited, or get a $525 annual fee United Club card just so I can get in United into a United Club. And with that, on top of that, I know I haven't gone too specific in the airports, but I'm just saying in general, the collection of airports that have high traffic, it's okay to have more than one lounge in them as well. You can have a Chase Lounge in Terminal 1 and another Chase Lounge in Terminal 3. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have a Capital One Lounge in Concourse A and another Capital One Lounge in Concourse H. There's nothing wrong with that. We as consumers are looking for that. And if it's more readily available, once again, if we can visibly see it, more people be inclined to buy into it. And more people that buy into it, more revenue that's made for you guys to afford these extra lounges. Now we got the exclusivity factor. I can get in, but you cannot. And then that person go home and says, I want to get in too. And now we're going back down the rabbit hole again. We're just going around the circle and it just keeps on going. It's a great business model. That's why I say a business model from the perspective of the consumer. Hopefully that answers the question slightly. I know I didn't go specifically into airports, but I feel like I gave a really good answer on how they can engage more airports as a whole.
No, I'll definitely accept it. I'll never question your answers there, Lani. RJ, as a Venture X holder and as someone who is turning away from Chase currently, are there airports that you frequent or airports that you do fly into and return from that Capital One or Chase would benefit with your dollars to open lounges in?
So usually I'm flying out of LaGuardia or Atlanta, which does not necessarily bode well for either of those because I'm flying Delta, so I'm going to the Delta Sky Lounge or I'm going to the Centurion Lounge. So for me personally, in those two, the hubs that I have to fly through, probably not. But here is what I will say, and here's what I think could help them, right? Yes, I agree. The LAXs, the JFKs, all of that, those are important, right? Those are where you put your big, shiny crown jewels. Those are where you get the pretty pictures to show what a lounge can be. Absolutely. But I think I'm on the Wikipedia page, so it's calling them medium hubs, but they're, airports that get anywhere between, say, 3 and 8 million a year people through them. Those I think could really benefit because if you put a Capital One lounge in, and I don't know all of the lounges, but Pittsburgh, right? I don't know how many Pittsburgh has, but if you put a really nice, solid Capital One lounge in Pittsburgh and they don't have anything else, guess what? The people that fly in and out of Pittsburgh are going to get your card because it's the only option they have. Like the reason that I talk about, my upstate New York airport, I would like them to get a lounge and I will get whatever card I have to get in is because I will get whatever card I have to get in. Because once we get one lounge, we're never getting another one. We don't have one now to begin with. So if you have a Pittsburgh or a Palm Beach International Airport or something where you're getting millions of people through. So it's not like it's an airport where you're getting 1.5 million people a year. You're getting a fair number of people through. But if you focus there, figure out how to do lounges, right? Figure out, okay, this works really well for this lounge. Maybe in a different part of the country, this setup doesn't work as well. Figure those out in sort of the medium size ones where it's a little less risky. You're getting a little less traffic. You're getting a little less of other things. And then work into the LAXs and work into the JFKs or wherever else you are. Because that way you're endearing yourself. Because if I know I have to fly through Pittsburgh, 3 times a year to go see family because that's how it works out for me or whatever, mid-size airport you want to put in there. If I know 3 times a year when I go see my family, I gotta sit in this airport and oh, they have one lounge. I'm getting the card for that lounge. You best believe I am getting the card for that lounge. And I think it's a strategy. We'll talk about business travelers, I think, a little bit later, but it's a strategy for especially business travelers are going to get those cards because that's a place they can work. That's a place where they can get something to eat so they can hit the ground running and get meals and things like that. So I think those are airports they really could benefit the airport a lot by having one there and benefit the companies by being able to try things, figure things out, and build out the goodwill of having their name on things in an airport that doesn't get maybe as much attention as the big shiny ones.
No, that definitely makes sense. And to any
Here,
credit,
RJ.
absolutely. Any credit card company that's going to open a lounge in Pittsburgh, if you do not serve Permanente Bros at that lounge, I'm going to have a major issue with you. Just going to put that out there. You don't need the super tall beer, but if you're not serving sandwiches with French fries in them that are amazing, and would really hit the spot for me right now, I don't want to know you. Tariq, as a Sapphire Preferred holder who may or may not eventually go up to the Sapphire Reserve, are there specific airports that you would want to see Chase in particular? Or if there was an airport that Capital One got that would get you to consider moving over to Capital One, what airports would those be? Or what philosophy would you want to see Chase and Capital One undertake?
Okay, so I'm still not sure I'm on if I'm going to go with the Sapphire Reserve, especially because my game plan is revolving around me potentially or leaning towards getting the Club Infinite card. So that's going to probably cover my lounge access, especially because we already discussed about the Sapphire Reserves and their questionable lounge access acquisition, which is obviously part of the question we have going on today. So I'll touch on Chase in a little bit later. I kind of want to speak about Capital One. Realistically, and actually, no, I could bring in Chase on this. What they can really do, and it's kind of like the easy cop-out answer, go to the hubs. Like, go to the hubs, especially O'Hare. People talk about how O'Hare is a lounge desert aside from, United clubs, really. So, go to O'Hare.
I can concur to that, actually. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Hobby only that I know of has maybe Houston Hobby, Bush Intercontinental, obviously United clubs. I think maybe an Admirals Club. I'm not sure. DFW, obviously they have a Centurion lounge, they have a Capital One lounge. That's like the major one. But the more I think about like the hub airports, unless you're like the major big cities, they don't really have much. Go to the hubs. That's easy. Capital One, I'll say this. Has any of y'all ever been to a Capital One cafe?
No.
I think I've been to two. I've been to three. I've been to one in San Antonio. I've been to Houston and Galleria, and I went to one in Chicago. I feel like, and they're really nice. So I feel like the cities, at least the major cities, the mid to like large airports, if you're in a city that Capital One has a cafe in, you should put a Capital One lounge in there. I think it makes sense in that because, especially because a lot of these airports don't, sometimes they don't have a lot of lounge access. And I know I speak about my home airport, San Antonio, because it's just what I know, where the city is going to have a renovation project. we're going to have a new terminal and we're going to expand upon terminals. And in the new terminal, there's going to be there's going to be lounge space. I've said this probably 100 times already. One of the reasons why I'm full head on in the United is because I plan on having a card with lounge access, and my San Antonio, the only airside lounge at the San Antonio airport is a United club. If Capital One decided to throw a Capital One lounge in this new lounge space, I'd be tempted to look at getting a Capital One card, getting the Venture X, because it's a lounge and I could potentially look at seeing whatever available flights, and who knows, maybe I'll decide to potentially downgrade the club and just having the United Explorer just to have some lounge access. And at the worst case scenario, I can just pay for a lounge. So that would be something I would consider. But obviously it's a lot of speculation on this, but there's a lot of underutilized airports, like in the mid-range that RJ said, where there aren't any lounges, or they're basically lounge deserts. So whether it be Chase or Capital One, diving on those airports that maybe American Express turns their nose to because they don't see them as like high quality potential customers, where they jump on that in that underutilized market, boom, you're going to have a bunch of Venture X card holders, or boom, you're going to have a bunch of Sapphire Reserve card holders. Like, that's just the easiest way to do it in my eyes. Go to the hubs, go to the underutilized airports, and go look for the airports that are potentially doing renovations that are going to have opening up more lounge space, and be like the first bidder for that. Because, like I said, I would look at getting a Venture X if San Antonio's airports decides to get a Capital One lounge. Or maybe I will go for the Sapphire Reserve if they decide to do a Sapphire lounge. Not too sure if I'd get a platinum card for a Centurion lounge there. I don't know if I'm part of that customer base, but you get what I'm saying. So just go find the opportunities.
I will, as I hear your answers, I'm starting to get more, remove myself from the hypothetical and move on to the non-fictional. But first off, Tariq, you're 100% correct. Not just O'Hare, but the entire Midwest is a lounge desert. Like, just period. The entire Midwest. Madison, Wisconsin, the Green Bay Airport, the Bloomington, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. What other airports? The other ones are all like regional, like Peoria, Champaign, and all that other stuff. But still, like the larger ones in the Midwest. St. Louis, also desert.
Well, you can't appreciate the Wingtips Lounge that everyone talks about with the St. Louis Airport.
You have to appreciate that Wingtips Lounge. That is one of the only lounges that I've been to. And you know what? Damn it, it is nice.
But my point is like, as Tariq was mentioning, like if you were to, as a Capital One or a Chase or even an Amex Centurion lounge, if you guys were to just insert yourselves in there, you're automatically going to gain cardholders. You're automatically going to gain consumers, because there's no other option to fly economy and get in a lounge in those particular style airports. And to be completely honest, I would go straight global entry. Like, there's a separate dedicated line. You can walk in and sign up for your card and get approved, and boom, you're in the lounge. Like, that would be really nice. Instead of like, oh man, I don't have this card and there's a lounge here, then you got to wait till your trip's over so you can sign up for the card and for it to show up. No, just be like, walk in. If you get instant approved, you can come sit in. Your card will be at home by the time your trip is over. That would be great. I think a lot of people take advantage of that, and all the people that already have cards. For example, I'm looking at Centurion Lounge line access, trying to get into one of them suckers. If I saw a shorter line for the people that are just signing up today, and I've had my card for over a year, I'd be pissed. But the business would be happy. I'm just calling it what it is.
So for me, for my answer on this one, if I am Chase, I'm going to answer this in two ways with Chase. If I'm Chase, I'm going to expand upon what Chase is already doing with Air Canada and the Maple Leaf Lounge agreement that they just announced. Do the same thing with British Airways. I would also focus on a couple of cities. I would do O'Hare and Midway. I would also focus on Southwest focus cities. So I would look to put Chase Sapphire Reserve lounges in places like St. Louis, at Chicago Midway, at BWI, at I'll talk about DC in a second because they've got one at IAD. They're going to expand and eventually put one at LAX. It's like a really far terminal at LAX, if I remember correctly. It's like the Tom whatever terminal, but it's fine. I would be looking at expanding with British Airways and getting access to British Airways executive clubs first, and then looking to supplement in other places. Like if there's a Sapphire Lounge in O'Hare and a Sapphire Lounge at Midway, sweet. If there's a Sapphire Lounge at St. Louis, awesome. If there's a Sapphire Lounge in Houston, excellent. If you put a Sapphire Lounge, you could try to challenge at Atlanta. You could try to challenge at Delta hubs and corresponding Centurion clubs. You can definitely do that. If I'm Chase, I'm also looking to expand into as many of the JFK terminal remodels as possible. Terminal 1 is undergoing a whole new refit remodel. Put one in Terminal 1, put one in Terminal 6. If there's availability in Terminal 8, put one in Terminal 8, put one in Terminal 3. Wherever you can put one in a terminal in JFK, put one in JFK. So I would be attacking, I would definitely be attacking hubs. I would also be looking at Southwest focus cities because Southwest is another strong partnership that Chase has. And it would expand into those Midwest desert city, like that Midwest desert of lounges. You'd have Chicago Midway, you'd have Hobie, Houston Hobie, you'd have I don't know that you'd want to put a lounge at Love Field. I know going to eventually be a lounge at Austin Bergstrom. We'll talk about that later. But looking at, complementing some of your strong credit card transfer partners and especially airlines that you issue co-brand cards for, utilizing that. British Airways has an extensive network of lounges that you can gain access to. Like, get Sapphire Reserve holders into those executive clubs the way that you're doing with Maple Leaf lounges with Air Canada. Like, that would be the best business practice for Chase to pursue, because you already have the lounge that people can access. You're just granting more availability to your Sapphire Reserve holders. I would also be looking at some of the other hubs. Chicago O'Hare makes the most sense. That should probably be like either Chase or Capital One's number one priority after whatever they've announced. Like, the only ones that I know of that have been announced for future opening is LAX for the Sapphire Reserve and JFK for the Capital One Lounge. For a Capital One Lounge, get into O'Hare somehow. Whoever gets into O'Hare kind of wins, in my opinion. Then, work with those other relationships and look at strengthening Southwest, where you give Southwest focus cities a lounge. St. Louis would make sense. Another United lounge, another United location that Capital One has is Denver. There should be a Sapphire Reserve lounge in Denver. Do those big focus cities, and then work off of British Airways. You've already got Maple Leaf lounges, as I said, and then you start becoming like Southwest sort of lounge partner in Southwest focus cities, and then that is a way to grow your business that way. For Capital One should be looking at definitely O'Hare, because any credit card lounge in O'Hare is better than no credit card lounge in O'Hare, and Chicagoans will jump at whichever issuer between American Express, Capital One, and Chase, or Citi eventually, because who knows how long this lounge desert is going to be at O'Hare. Citi may jump into the game at some point. Whoever jumps into O'Hare is going to win a lot of credit card holders from the Chicago area and the Chicagoland area. Midway is a smaller airport, I know, but if you get into Midway, great. Like there was it was like huge fanfare for the club at Midway. So for Capital One, expand it wherever you can get your hand, wherever you can get into. There are three that right now they've got an announced club, they've got an announced lounge at JFK. They also have this landings concept. So if there's a complimentary airport to like a major international airport in a city like Chicago O'Hare, you want to put a Capital One lounge. Chicago Midway, you'll want to put a Capital One landing. Like they'll have at IAD where they have the Capital One lounge at IAD, and at DCA or Reagan, they have the Capital One landing. You'll want to do the same thing. New York City, you're going to do the Capital One lounge at JFK. You want to do the Capital One landing at LaGuardia. And then there's always Newark, where you could try to get either a landing or a lounge if you're Capital One at Newark. Chase at Newark, there's a couple of ways that you can go about it. But anyway, Capital One doesn't have a significant partner, doesn't have a co-brand issuer. Wherever Capital One can find value is where Capital One should be going. And I think with their landing concept should be at a complimentary airport, especially in a city, especially in cities that have two. Houston should be George Bush International should be a Capital One lounge. Houston Hobie should be a landing. So it's not a great answer for Capital One because they don't have that strong relationship with any of their transfer partners, and their transfer partners aren't as ingrained with them as Chase's are. But I do think Capital One could definitely find some value in some of those other locations. But for Chase, British Airways executive clubs, and then start hammering away at Southwest focus cities, and you'll get a lot of converts that way.
You made a really good point about Denver. Well, first, before I get to that, O'Hare's due for a remodel.
Yeah.
Full stop. Full stop is due for a remodel. But going back to Denver, I've talked about lounges and not walking too far to get to one. Denver has a SkyTram, and it is just 1 mile long airport. Like you could own so much of the foot traffic at Denver because there's no left or right turns. There's no other hallways. You get to the air side, it is just one long, literally it's a mile long terminal. If you were to put it anywhere, that's easy access for so many people. So I didn't even think about Denver. And of course, Denver is an international airport, but it's really a connection airport. So we'll call it, a spade here. But that's a lot of foot traffic. That's a lot of opportunity for at least, like the Amex to chase the Capital One.
There's a whole basement at Denver that you could just run the gamut because nobody knows what happens in that basement.
Well, there's articles.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, there are.
And they also put up that painting that has very subtle, not so subtle hints of what happens at Denver Airport. If you're strong enough to Google it, y'all go Google it on yourself. I'm not talking about it.
That place is weird. All right. No, definitely. Denver should be after Chicago O'Hare. Denver is like the next place it should be the next place that Chase should really focus on. But executive club would make a lot of sense. Any closing thoughts on that question?
I definitely think that Chase should homing in on the Southwest focus cities. Not too sure about having like Sapphire lounges at like Dallas Love Field or Houston Hobby, at least in Texas. But I mean, I'm sure the people that fly Southwest would greatly appreciate it. So I don't know. And then Capital One, definitely maybe having a landing at Love Field. Obviously, I'm speaking a lot of the Texas ones, but you know, there are a lot of people. If you're flying out of Love Field, you're flying Southwest. So,
So with those Southwest airports adjacent to the major airports, I'm thinking Chase should be adopting something like the Capital One landing model or something like the soon to be retired Capital One Terrace idea, like an area for cardholders.
I think I guess that makes sense for those, especially because there are a lot of airports in Texas, and there's a lot.
Yes, it's a very large state. Yes, it's very important. Yes, it has 40 electoral votes. And
I didn't say it was important. I just said it's a lot, and it is big. We're not going to talk about the votes. Trust me, I don't want to go there. But I definitely like the idea of having the other important Southwest focused cities at bigger airports, because, like you said, Southwest doesn't have any lounge access, nor do I see them doing any lounge access in the foreseeable future. They just started renovating. They just started doing seat assignments. Well, they're going to start doing seat assignments. They just renovated the seats. So at least having like a kind of a lounge partnership with Chase makes a whole lot of sense.
All right. Lani, can we bother you for one more, or is it time to bid us adieu?
You know what? This time I'm actually going to have to bid you guys adieu. I got an early morning tomorrow. So I hate to do it, but I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all the listeners and viewers, which is why even in my hectic travel schedule, because this is a work trip for me, this is not a personal trip this week. I wanted to take the time to at least stop by, say hi, and provide you my attendance, my presence, and my information, because I really do appreciate every single one of you. And with that being said, we are knocking on the door to 300 subscribers. So if you have not done so yet, if we have earned it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And then last but not least, on my personal channel, call me Lani, all one word, Lani spelled Lani. I am knocking on the door to 3,000 subscribers. So if you have not come visit my channel yet, please do. And if you like what you see and I earn your sub, hit that subscribe button for me over there as well.
Absolutely. And Lani, if you have the opportunity, please let those folks with the Blade partnership know our general distrust of whatever the heck has been going on lately.
We will see what happened. I hit up my friend. Hopefully I'll see her later this week that works at Blade. And my helicopter ride back to the airport is scheduled. So hopefully I can live stream it or record it or whatever if I got a good seat or whatnot. And the weather is, works in our favor. But I'm platinum in 2024. It's almost the end of 2024. I'm going to get my last platinum gift because I'll probably never hit platinum built again because it doesn't provide me any value. Just being real. And I
wasn't trying to say the company.
No problem saying that. Going back to Spaethco's other answer, the card that I wouldn't apply for again, probably the built card. Throw that in the mix.
I wasn't trying to say it. I know we drive RJ crazy with this one, but all right, hey, Lani.
At least it's a $0 annual fee card. So if I go hiatus on it for a year and they change it and come back strong, I already have it, so I wouldn't have to apply.
Makes sense. Well, Lani, thank you so much for your time today. We greatly appreciate it. I know we weren't expecting it, but thank you as always.
Peace.
Night, Lani.
All right, so we're gonna head over to our next question, which comes from new asker, and we greatly appreciate this. From acmeacresa. I'm going to pronounce it that way, but I may be wrong. They ask, do you think credit card companies should only offer status and lounge benefits on business cards? My thinking is a lot of complaints from business are from business travelers. I like to chat about the lounge being overcrowded. So I'll take the first stab at this. I do think they could offer other perks. I don't think that status or lounge benefits should come specifically from business cards. Now, I would say the American Express Business Platinum card, not a card I specifically hold, but if that held higher hotel status for $695, but it's a business utilizing this credit, would make certainly more sense than the fact that the American Express Business Platinum gets Hilton and Marriott Gold, the same status that you can get on the personal platinum card. I do think that a business platinum or a business ticket holding business platinum card holder who is flying business class or above may be afforded better perks at the Centurion Lounge, not necessarily Centurion perks, but maybe something just below that for business platinum holders would make a certain amount of sense. But do I think credit card companies should only offer status and lounge benefits on business cards? No, because the status and lounge benefits are the only things that are really driving folks to spend $550 for the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Like if the Chase Sapphire Reserve had no lounge access on it for $550, I personally don't know what I would do with the card. Now, I still think the $550 Sapphire Reserve is a better overall card than the Sapphire Preferred, but a good chunk of that is I know I can get into Sapphire lounges. I know I can get into Priority Pass lounges. So the Preferred does not get me into either of those. Would I sign up for a business preferred that got me into the same things? And if my personal preferred didn't, yes, I would switch over to a business, but I do not think that it should only be on business cards. Now, if a business version of the Sapphire Preferred included hotel benefits that weren't on the personal, that's maybe a different story. But for me, the only reason why I'm getting higher tier business cards is those extra perks. We'll switch it up here. And Tariq, do you think credit card companies should only offer status and lounge benefits on business cards, since most of your perks are going to be coming from business cards at the moment?
I don't think so. Like I said on the record, that I plan on opening the United Club Infinite card sometime next year. Probably going to be like Q2, sometime in the spring. The only reason why I'm going to spend $525 on that credit card is because of lounge access. I mean, I think depending on the sign-up bonus, like I might get like 4,000 PQPs, so that plus the spend like might give me United Silver. But for the most part, it's lounge access. I think the amount of revenue that a lot of these banks would lose if they just like made this artificial like scarcity wall towards restricting lounge access to business card holders would potentially hurt them in the long run, because I don't know many people that are getting the Amex Platinum card for the Saks Fifth Avenue credit, or all the other credits. Most people are doing it because they get Centurion Lounge, Escape Lounge, Delta Sky Club access, all the lounge access. That's like 99% of what people talk about when they talk about the Platinum card. I don't think people are going to get the Venture X if it wasn't for Sapphire or Capital One lounges and Plaza Premium and Priority Press. I don't think anybody's going to be spending $400, $500, $600, $700 on a credit card for these travel cards that don't have lounge access. So a lot of especially whether it be the airline cards or just like the bank lounge cards, it's a lot of revenue just on annual fees that Chase, Capital One, American Express, Citi would be losing out on. So I don't think like restricting them to only business cards would make sense on that end. Like I understand that there is a significant like overcrowding issue for certain lounges. I know the Centurion Lounge and the Sky Clubs are like the worst offenders, but restricting that to business cards only is probably going to hurt them, because it's going to piss off a lot of people, and a lot of people are probably going to cancel those cards, and that's just missed revenue just that American Express can get every year for people that hold, if not the platinum one or the other, whether it be the platinum or the Delta Reserve, or for some cases, even both. Like that could be like, $12,000 or $1,200 a year times X amount of people per year just for holding the card, not even the going spend on there. So I don't think that's a good idea. I definitely think that there could be better options. And like you said, Matt, more perks that could be held for business cards. But I don't think maybe like making status a little bit more attainable for business spenders, because obviously a lot of business people, travelers are going to be traveling more. But yeah, you gotta keep the personal cards. You got to keep the lounge access on the personal cards. That's a lot of business banks moneymakers on that.
Definitely. RJ.
I don't think business cards should have lounge access or hotel status at all. I think they should have higher limits. I think they potentially should have better interest rates. I think that business cards should have all of that. I don't think you should get hotel status naturally through the card. I don't think that you should get airline status or lounge access through the card. If you're somebody who, like, I'm going to use Lani for an example because Lani is a co-host and I know he travels a lot for work, right? He has the Amex Platinum, right? Like that's a personal card. It's not the business version. He has the Amex Platinum card that gets him into certain lounges. Like he doesn't necessarily need the business version to do the same thing, right? Like a lot of these cards, I think, and look, people are going to yell at me in the comments, like it's going to slow sign up and that's not good. I'm not talking from a business perspective. I'm not talking Amex's bottom line. I'm not talking Chase's bottom line. I'm not talking anybody's bottom line. I don't have the spreadsheets in front of me. I don't have the data. I don't particularly care about their bottom line other than these companies keep giving me points for giving them cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if you're a business traveler, if your company is going to reimburse you, it doesn't matter if you put it on a business credit card or a personal credit card, right? Because if your company is reimbursing you, it's not changing the fact that you're being reimbursed. So why do you need multiple cards parallel to each other giving you the same benefits? It goes back similar to your point, Matt, about having maybe different perks. I just don't think I agree with some of the credits. I agree with other things, but I don't think lounge access or hotel status is something you need on a business card. Is it a sweetener? Is it a kicker? Is it partly because they're trying, especially Amex is trying to parallel their cards so that the Amex Business Platinum and the Amex regular Platinum are in parallel with each other? Yes. But I would sooner have business cards lose these perks and access than I would have personal cards lose these perks and accesses. Because I think if you're a business traveler, it's a much less of an ask to ask a guy or a gal or a person who flies 12 times a year to go pick up the Amex Platinum or the Club Infinite or whatever than it is to ask, my grandmother to go get a business card. So I think in terms of if you're going to only give it on one, absolutely needs to be personal. And just from a general perspective, I think the business card should have different perks. I don't think it should be lounge access and hotel status.
No, just as a brief follow-up, and typically, and I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Stacker Points. If you like what we do, hit the like and subscribe button down below on the YouTube channel. If you are listening to us on the podcatcher of your choice, please give us a 5-star rating. And as we continue to grow our audience, we are approaching 300 subscribers here on YouTube. Please help us get to that goal. We would love to hit that before the end of the year. It'll allow us to start thinking about other ways to give you guys value, potentially. And on the podcatcher of your choice, please give us 5 stars just so that we can keep reaching more folks across the credit card expanse. Please leave us a comment if you like. Leave us questions in the comments if you want to do that. Questions can also be done via asking us at stackyourpoints@gmail.com or our Stack Your Points podcast Discord in the podcast questions section of the Discord, which we all moderate. Tariq, if we wanted to find you on the internet, since you still haven't posted a video, and please do that soon, just so that I don't go on strike. Where else can we find you across the interwebs?
Well, obviously, you can find me at Reeks Rewards. I've probably said it a few times. I know, beating a dead horse. Video coming soon. I promise.
Or Gluey.
Okay. Also, Stack Your Points Discord, and also starting to work in the Stack Your Points Instagram, where I'm going to start getting some ideas to start posting. Working on that. That is a work in progress that we want to get up and running as well. So that's where you can find me. Also looking up potential intercontinental hotels so I can actually have IHG status and that make it worthwhile.
Definitely. RJ, where else can we find you across the vast expanses of the interwebs?
You can find me at Do You Take Cards. I post in theory on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but life has been a bit hectic lately, so I haven't been posting. But in theory, you can find me there. And there are videos where you can go watch past ideas that I've had. You can also find me in the Stack Your Points Discord, mostly telling people to go to different channels to continue their conversations, because that is my job.
Definitely. Let's get RJ past 100 subscribers. Let's get me past 1,500 subscribers. Let's get Lani past 3,000 subscribers. I would be remiss without mentioning that. And let's get to 300 subscribers here on the Stack Your Points YouTube channel as well. As always, you can find me at the Matt Clausen YouTube channel. I talk about credit card speculation, credit card news. I haven't mentioned the Smartly card today just because I'm planning on recording with a special friend of the pod about that, and some other things coming down the pipe as well. And yeah, just give us a like, subscribe, and join our Discord. We would greatly appreciate it. And talk to you guys soon. We'll see you next week.